Hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to talking with CEO Aaron Stahl of P3 Cost Analyst. Aaron, it's great to connect with you, and I'm appreciative of our mutual friend, Justin Breen, connecting us. Thank you, Justin. Looking forward to talking about you and what you do for companies on a lot of different levels. You and your team are expert cost reduction consultants. If you were to go to costanalyst.com, you'll see 90% of businesses are being overcharged by vendors, and that is where you step in, saving your customers millions in unnecessary expenses since 1991. As a business person, we're going to jump into a little some things that make your company special. I'm a business coach, and I work with successful people who are stuck. I get them unstuck, and so I always like to have guests on the show like you that basically can help people get unstuck. And so what's a recent stuck for you, Aaron?
A recent stuck for us. I think for us operationally, we're always just trying to improve. And so we've been the last couple of years been trying to get some of the executives out of the operations seat. And I'm sorry, can you hear that? I'm trying to.
Yeah, I can, but no big deal.
Okay. Yeah, I thought I had that closed, but so we're trying to get some of the executives out of the operations seat. And so we've been hiring a director of operations and been through a couple iterations of that. So for us, that was a pretty big step is bringing in that director of operations. And we think we're in a really good spot now, but offloading some of those tasks for the executives that were previously in those roles so we can elevate and delegate has been a really big deal. And I think getting people in the right seats. So, previously, I think some of us were, for me personally, I'm more of a visionary than I am an operator.
Yeah.
So bringing in a true operator so I can focus on the direction of the business versus something that doesn't really bring me energy every day, which is operating the company has been somewhere that I was previously stuck that I think we've been able to get the company moving in a much quicker direction and everybody in the right seats.
Yeah, I think that is so important. And I think a lot of people know it. Sometimes people aren't necessarily, taking the actions necessary to actually make it happen, getting the right people in the right seats. The power of delegation is so important. I work with clients like that all the time. And Think Community, I'll just highlight one thing. It takes a long time to find that right director of operations, right? Or that right person. And don't settle, because you want to be able to be in your sweet spot. And it's really important to hire only great. All right, let's talk about you. Speaking of great, Aaron, one of the things that I think is great that Justin shared when he introduced us is you have a paid sabbatical program in your company, and just talk about it and talk about what it does for the culture, what it does for retention. I remember years ago, and I wish I could reference this podcast, but I write everything down. I didn't write this one down. Actually, I think I did. I can't remember, but I listened to a podcast where somebody was talking about retention at their company. And after, I think it was 10 years, you could get a trip around the world, a cruise around the world.
Nice.
And people said, well, isn't that expensive? And he said, actually, it's pretty cheap because our retention goes through the roof because people don't want to lose it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So talk a little bit about your theory of sabbaticals.
Absolutely. So I really got the idea from Tim Ferriss back in 2007. I picked up his book, The 4-Hour Work Week, off the shelf, and it really resonated with me. I read it at a time in business when I couldn't afford to travel much. It was still pretty early in starting the company and down in the weeds. But he really had the idea of taking a mini retirement every 5 years. And the reason being is why wait until you're 60 or 70 to spend time and doing what you want to do and just working up until that point, like the kind of traditional model. And I completely agreed with that philosophy. So I vowed to take a little mini retirement sabbatical every 5 years. And it was a couple of years later that I got the business up and running enough to where I could actually do that. So I went to Colombia, South America, and learned Spanish for 6 months. And then about 5 years later, my girlfriend at the time and I went to Alaska, and I'm a pilot and a flight instructor. So I spent 6 months up there doing flying and flight instruction and adventures like that. And then just recently got back from another 5-year sabbatical. I went to South Africa and Indonesia, and pursued some more of my passions. So I say all that to say that, where the idea kind of came from, but we realized, like, this is something we should be offering our employees, and the company has gotten to a stage where it's big enough that we can offer that. And so talked it over with the partners and the executive team, and we rolled it out to the employees before I left on this last sabbatical. And so if an employee's been with us 5 years, they get 1 month paid. 10 years, they get 2 months paid, and 15 years, they get 3 months paid. So we have quite a few employees that already qualified for that.
Every year? I mean, once you get 15, is it you get it on year 16, or once you just hit those?
Yeah. I mean, I think if somebody's with us 20 years, I'm sure we'll give them another 3 months. But yeah,
right.
It's like every 5-year kind of increment. But for us, like, it's a really easy decision. Because I really think it makes our business stronger in a lot of ways. Like early on, and again, this stems from a lot of the Tim Ferriss stuff. He was basically saying, like, if you leave for a week, you're going to come back to a pile of work. If you leave for 2 weeks, you're going to come back to a pile of work plus some stuff that's broken. If you leave for 3 weeks, you're going to come back to your employees having fixed a lot of those problems. And it's kind of magical. And he's right. You come back and you're like, oh, wow, you leave for just enough time to where your employees feel empowered to make decisions, and you can really elevate yourself. You can see what's broken in your business, see what works, see who steps up, see who doesn't. And it's just like a no-brainer to, like, strengthen your business and then make your life better. And so you just keep extending those timelines, and you can really build a business that runs itself a lot better, all while enjoying yourself more. And it's really, you kind of have to rip the Band-Aid off, because, I mean, everybody is probably pretty nervous about leaving or taking the hands off, especially if you're super involved, but it works. And I tried it, and then we've rolled it out to our employees. So very excited about it.
What does it do for retention? Let's talk about that. I mean, we're in a market today where the average person stays 2 to 3 years in many cases. And so what have you seen as with your retention?
Yeah, I mean, we just rolled it out, so TBD. But that being said, like, when we rolled it out, I I assumed people would be excited about it, but I wasn't sure what to expect. And on the conference call, the quarterly meeting we had with the entire team, we rolled it out. It was pretty interesting, like pretty awesome to see the feedback. Everybody's really excited. And then we had one woman on our team that had been with us 15 years, and she turned her camera off for a while, and we're like, hey, where'd you go? And she's like, oh, sorry. I ran downstairs to tell my husband. Like, she was just so excited, and then we have another woman who had only been with us 4 months, so she's still 4.5 years away from getting a month free, but she sent us an email saying how excited she was and how this was going to be a life-changing event for her. And she was, excited to be on the team. And so I think we weren't sure that there would be motivation for people that are that far out, but sure enough, so it resonated with some people. And obviously the people that had already been with us 5, 10, 15 years, we wanted to show our appreciation. So, I think it'll do a lot for retention. And it's part of our culture. I mean, we want to work hard, play hard, enjoy our lives, and show our employees that they're important to us, and that we also, want them to enjoy their lives. So the only really requirement that we have is that when you go on your sabbatical, you got to send us some pictures and tell us what you're up to, just share it with us a little bit.
It's so amazing. I remember being in Northern Michigan years ago, and there was a family there, and they were on I want to say a 4 to 6 month sabbatical. And it seemed like other countries, this is pretty normal way of businesses thinking. And so how have what you are doing affected or inspired other companies that you know of to do the same?
I think I'm not sure we've inspired anybody yet to do this, but hopefully, through some of podcasts like this, maybe we will. In my research on it, I think some of the bigger Fortune 500 companies, they'll have some sabbaticals like this, but they kind of offer them with strings attached, like you have to do X or Y. And then it's only like maybe once after 10 years versus kind of like this every 5 years thing that we've really implemented. So I'm not sure it's motivated people yet or changed anybody, but I hope it does. And, I think I know like Europe, it's standard to have 8 weeks vacation. I mean, the U.S. is obviously a little more, I don't know if we're workaholics, but we don't take as much vacation. And I don't necessarily, I mean, obviously I think we should all take a little more vacation, but a sabbatical and like a block of time is like, it's different. I mean, you're really going to like kind of go deep and pursue something that's important to you versus just like uncharging or recharging for a little bit. And so that's what, maybe even the European model, they're still just going for a couple weeks at a time, 3 or 4 times a year. A long-term sabbatical should be something where you're really pursuing something that's important to you. So, ultimately you may have less regrets when you're older.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's like, I'm picturing, when I was younger and my kids when they were younger and even my wife, I mean, you always have a countdown to camp, right? Because you go away for, 1 month, sometimes 2 months, to go to summer camp. But this seems like, I mean, you can really count down in a great way to get to something great. So I think it's great. I mean, I would anticipate, that people would be really engaged to stick around. What does it do to the everyday culture? Because I would imagine once somebody's on sabbatical sending pictures, it kind of gets everybody pumped up and gets everybody feeling like, wait, I got 19 more months. I got, 16.
Yeah.
What is the culture like on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. I mean, like, again, it's pretty new. We've got, I just got back literally not that long ago. So I haven't had a chance to visit with the team about, what they thought about the CEO being gone. That might not be as entertaining for them as one of their fellow coworkers. But we do have one woman on sabbatical right now in Europe. And then another one, the partner he's been with us 16, 17 years now. He's going to be taking some time off soon. So, TBD, but I would hope everybody enjoys it and they enjoy, and I think like people enjoy picking up the slack for each other and then chipping in and just seeing how somebody's enjoying their time. I think there's very few people in the world that don't enjoy seeing other people happy and knowing that they're helping to contribute to it. So, ultimately that's the culture that we want. And I think we have.
Yeah. Another way, and maybe you're doing this, Aaron, but another way to kind of promote it internally is every 260 Saturdays you get your next month.
Nice.
Right. Because there's 52 Saturdays in a month. In a year. There's 52 Saturdays in a year. So times that by 5, that's 260. So every 260 Saturdays, you're going to where, doing whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody.
So let's talk about your business, right? So you're saving companies a lot of money and so how are you doing that?
Yeah, well, we have experts in 7 different categories now, and we've been doing this for a while. So waste, recycling, telecom, utility, uniform and linen, property tax, and then merchant processing, and then print, copiers. So the way it works and the reason that we're around is just really because there's errors and overcharges in all these industries. People make mistakes on the invoices or they're trying to drive as much profit as possible. So a lot of the bigger offenders are the Fortune 500 vendors. They're out there selling a service to one person at this price and another person at this price, the exact same service, but completely different pricing. And so we're able to take data from tens of thousands of data points that we've acquired over the years. And when we get a new client, we onboard them, look at that data, compare it to all the other data points and say, hey, everybody else in your industry this size is paying this much. And we know we can go to the vendor and call their bluff, negotiate on your behalf, drive those cost savings using that data. So that's one part. Then, like I mentioned, the errors and overcharges is another part. There's always people fat fingering stuff or making mistakes or whatever that can result in some nice refunds. So it's just the nature of the business. I think a lot of our clients are skeptical when we go to work for them. They're like, oh, I've got somebody in procurement that's working on this or accounts payable or whatever. And it's like, these expense categories are 7 of hundreds that they're working on. And there's just no way for them to be experts in it. Every one of our experts and teams of experts have worked for these vendors. They know exactly all the deep, dark secrets and how it works, and then how to leverage that data, because there's going to be thousands of or hundreds of roadblocks that the vendors put up when you go try to get this money back. So it's just they're each individually very complicated industries. And ultimately what I tell our clients is like, we're not doing magic. It's not like we take fairy dust and drip it on your invoices and contracts. If they did what we did and spent decades doing it and acquired the data, I'm sure they'd be just as good at it as we are. But their job is to focus on their core business. Our job is to focus on ours, and we each are able to drive value that way.
Yeah. And right. You're able to kind of dive in, see things and look at things and hear things that maybe they're missing, they don't have time for. And then it sounds like you're an advocate for those clients to, fight on their behalf. I don't know if fight's the right word, but consult and advise and get them some savings. It's great.
Absolutely.
And anything that can grow a bottom line and have more cash flow coming in the door, it's kind of like looking at subscriptions. It's like, I always advise people, check out how many subscriptions for $10, $5, $20, $100 a month you're buying. And you'll be surprised when you go to that subscription thing in your iPhone, how much you're spending every month. So if you put something in your calendar to just kind of remind yourself to look, and if you're not using it, stop paying for it,
right,
you can save a lot of money. And you do that it sounds like on a much larger scale. So think community, if Aaron can help you, reach out. Aaron, let's do a quick speed round.
Okay.
What is a book that's had the biggest impact on you?
Well, I mean, I'd say that maybe the biggest impact would be 4-Hour Workweek. But one that's also had a big impact on me that I've really enjoyed. I've gotten into economics quite a bit over the past decade. And one that I'd recommend is Economics in One Lesson by Henry Hazlitt. The title sounds very remedial, but the book is really written in a very understandable way and a very fun way. And I think if you read that book, and I recommend this to all my friends, you're going to be smarter than 99% of the talking heads on TV. You're going to understand how the world works. You're going to make better economic decisions, better decisions for your business and your personal finances. And the world becomes predictable. It's really interesting. So I really love that book.
I read that book. I read it years ago. Yeah, it was a great book. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Oh, best piece of wisdom. I don't know. I wouldn't say this is wisdom that I've received, but it's wisdom that I draw on from time to time. Might be a little morbid, but I try to think about and read about regrets people have when they die and draw on that collective wisdom. And there's been quite a few articles and books written on this. So I really kind of read that from time to time and try to live my life accordingly so I don't have those regrets. And I think, one of the biggest ones is that people have, and the most common one is that they live life according to what other people, how other people think they should live it.
Yeah.
And I think as entrepreneurs and business owners, we might naturally be more inclined to live our own life and plow our own way. But I think if we look in the mirror, we also realize that we still have those pressures of society weighing down on us. And it's still very difficult to actually follow your own path and be your true self. And so I think just reflecting on that and just making decisions that you're going to be happy with 30 years from now or 40 years from now.
And great thoughts. Last question, finish the sentence. One thing every company should do if they want to incorporate the sabbatical into their company is?
I think the one thing you should do is honestly just do it. I think for me, everything building up to offering this to employees, it's there's never a good time. There's always 100 excuses and you'll always talk yourself out of it. And at the end of the day, it's going to work and you just got to do it. And people are going to like it. People will pick up the slack. And obviously everybody's different. Business is different. I don't want to assume, but I think it's something that everybody can benefit from. Yeah. So I think ultimately it's just recognizing that you're going to create a ton of roadblocks in your own mind as to why you shouldn't do it. And you can overcome that.
I love it. Thanks for that. Think community. This was a great interview on talking about, what we can do to retain people, grow our culture. Aaron, I appreciate everything that you shared as a business coach who works with people who are successful but stuck and get them unstuck. It's always great to have, again, guests like you on to help people get unstuck. And what a great way to get people mentally unstuck and connected to the company on retention when you're giving them a month off every 5 years, 1 month and 2 months and 3 months to have a sabbatical to refuel, recalibrate, regulate themselves, refine their rhythm, and just unplug for a little bit. I love it. I think it's an incredible idea, and I hope more companies. I hope you inspire a lot more companies to do it. What's your website where people can connect with you?
Just costanalysts.com.
All right, costanalyst.com or jondwoskin.com if you need me. Think Community. Aaron, this was great. I really appreciate Justin introducing us. Thanks for your time, and let's have you on again, maybe with one of the people who just finished their sabbatical. That would be
okay. There you go. Sounds good, John. I appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Aaron.
All right. See ya.